ABC of communism imagining, because maybe I can just repeat these words, these lines: no heaven, no hell, no countries, nothing to kill or die for, no religions to. Imagine no possession, no need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one, and hope that you will join me.
Both capitalism and communism are conceptual, and they are mediated by rational processes. We cannot go back before reason. Hence, the problems of communism. What was the main form of communism's politics? The party. What does the party mean originally? The Communist Party. The Communist Party really in the sense of the manifestos. What does it mean? It means that an agency is needed that is keeping itself conceptual, keeping itself in a state that enables it to produce consciousness, where criteria are elaborated that you can compare your activity to, so that you may know in which direction you're going. So the main organ of the revolution, of the Communist Revolution, is a philosophic enterprise and an agency that is philosophical or conceptual in nature. Now, if you wish, institutionally very similar, of course, to the church. And, well, in not all respects, but in one fundamental respect, namely that what is crucial is truth. The correct dogma, if you wish. Truth. Now, how do you establish truth? The Communist Party says that you establish truth by struggle, by conflict, by negativity, by addressing critically capitalism and yourself. But the party, of course, doesn't exist. The party, by the time it reached the moment of revolution, it was transformed into something else. How can the liberation struggle continue when there is no party? i.e., there is no agency engaged in establishing truth. And not only that there is no authority, or there is no successful revolution, but the institutional attempt to construct a community engaged in finding, elaborating, and operating truth does not exist and cannot exist. It has the revolutionary struggle in those circumstances make any sense, or it is again reduced to what we've seen throughout history: dissatisfaction, rebellious moments, spontaneity, moral revulsion at injustice, which are noble, good, and nice things, partisans, all that, but those are characterized by something, namely that are not conceptual, unlike capitalism. Hence, they're absolutely unlikely to change it. Is not addressing it at the same level. Capitalism is not a system which is directed by the private wishes or the moral or immoral will of the powerful, of the bosses, of the governing classes, and all that. It is run by principles. Growth, the eternal growth of capital, hence the ever-growing accumulation, the ever-changing proportions of redistribution, and the always larger cooptation of human life that has been before outside capital. Now we have reached a moment in which capitalism has become more conceptual than communism. Selling an idea, idea of speed, elegance, beauty, perfection. Selling moral ideas and selling them for billions. The main thing that is being sold is now at the level of aesthetics, above which there's nothing. There's nothing. So not only has the earth been conquered by capitalism, but also the heaven, or the idea of beauty, of Schiller's idea of play, freedom in beauty, blah blah, Keats, what have you. Faced with such an adversary, we are ridiculously weak. We are very weak. And therefore, I would think that with not the re-establishment of the Communist Party, which I actually think is impossible, not to say undesirable, but reconquering the high conceptual level, artistic and philosophic, of anti-capitalism, that's what communism can be at the moment. Marx did not like romantics thinking. He didn't ever think that there was no equality and freedom in capitalism. He said there was freedom and equality in capitalism, and capitalism is horrendous and inhuman together with freedom and equality. That's the point about capitalism. Not that some capitalist countries are dictatorial or tyrannical or fascist or whatever. Those are exceptions. The general run of capitalism is liberal, democratic, trying indeed to realize freedom and equality, because in conditions of freedom and equality, the purity of accumulation and of growth can be realized. And it was. Okay, why not?
Right now, more and more people start to understand, particularly in China and Russia, that probably capitalism doesn't need so much that ABC of liberal freedom. What actually conceptually is new, it's based on new enclosure of the commons. This particular tangible struggle which I recognize and be part of.
What is the possibility of collective action that can handle the commons when we don't have a community? This is a struggle that leads us back to the same conflict. Because this is, of course, although it's different, but capitalism makes it to fit the same logic of production, which actually, normally and logically, of course, it wouldn't.
Also, we were always trying to break that idea of the totality of the capitalist relations that penetrate, which to a certain extent it's true. But at the same time, we permanently, our answer, which we intellectually, not only we, but kind of general intellect behind us, it was always answer that capitalism is totality, but totality of dialectical contradictions. What kind of aesthetic comes closer to this truth? And Ziga Vertov with his concept of communist decoding of capitalist realities. We do not say to the world, cease your struggle, they are foolish. We will give you the true slogan of struggle, or the true idea of the struggle. We merely show the world what it's really fighting for. And the consciousness is something that it has to acquire if it doesn't want to. It's actually about the possibility of constructing, of acquiring consciousness, which I personally believe is still very important.
Culturally and politically and socially, that unity doesn't exist any longer. If class has changed its character, well, that will have to redefine any kind of radical left politics. Because, communist politics was always politics of class. And if class is not there in that shape, what does it mean? So I would be very modest, and I would say simply that nobody could answer the question. I cannot, that's for sure. But I haven't seen anybody